Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to my sketchbook. While out for a walk, I stumbled, well, I wouldn't say stumbled, but I found a couple of things that were kind of interesting. This is an acorn, and it's just, it's such a neat thing. Like, so if you're into woodworking, if you were to make a bowl, you could probably come up with something that looked a little bit like this. But it's such an interesting thing to just see that become a tree that also has these. And when I see that, I'm reminded of a commercial when I was kind of a kid, where somebody would put like Vaseline or some sort of skincare lotion on a leaf, and it would sort of give it back some vitality. But that freaked me out a little bit because I thought, well, what would that skincare lotion actually be doing to your skin? Does it replace like water, or I don't know. That always kind of, it was just weird. Which reminded me that I had this, which is a military patch, and these were sometimes used to, well, mark things as being super highly classified or even, well, clandestine. But that's just kind of interesting, that thing. Um, so, oh, and you probably noticed the squirrel is holding on to an acorn. I just kind of feel like drawing a squirrel, I think, today. And, well, let's see how that goes. I'm going to start off with the eye, as I often will do. I'm going to go for something that looks like that. Let's zoom in on this just a little bit. Okay. And kind of give it a surround. So it looks a little bit like a lemon, let's say. I'm just going to kind of fill it in. They have very dark eyes. Nothing too serious. I think they like to pick on dogs. I know dogs like to chase them, but usually squirrels can get away. And I don't know what dogs would ever do if they ever caught one. Now, this may not be perfectly accurate to what a squirrel looks like. I'm trying to draw this from memory. So it might end up being a little more cartoony than anything else. Which is fine. In my mind, I kind of put this kind of rodent in the same category as, well, bunny rabbits. Only they seem to have much more dexterous hands. Or paws, I guess. It's always fascinating to watch certain animals just do things. Maybe since I said something about bunny rabbits, this is sort of taking on that kind of look of one. Of course, they don't have all the features of bunny rabbits. making kind of like little furry sketch marks. Let's go with a little bonus fur there. Oh, that looks way too much like a rabbit. Well, maybe today's sketch is going to be a rabbit. Oh, that's funny. Well, maybe I can bring it back around. I don't know if that happens to any of you. If you're drawing without references and you're just drawing from inside of your head. You just kind of have things happen. Maybe if we make this eye a little bit bigger. Does that help it, I wonder? Could we go a little bit bigger? Wow. Well, that kind of helps it a little bit. Oh, that's funny. All right. Get a shoulder. Little paws with little claws. Now the tops of acorns look like dragon scales to me. Strangely enough, I think I've talked about this in other videos. When drawing rabbits, I mean. Yeah, we had a rabbit, or I should say my brother had a rabbit when we were children. And rabbits have short tails, kind of like squirrels, but you only see a little tuft of fur. So they actually kind of look more like that, oddly enough. Let's have this one, little paw. Basically saying, help yourself to some of my supply. Because sometimes, you know, it's good to share. Maybe we'll have another in here, but we'll tilt it so that it's kind of facing away from us. The cap there. Something like that. Do I need one more? Sure. I heard a story, and I'll have to verify it, of some people back in the 1950s, I believe, maybe even the 1960s, who visited Buckingham Palace. And Buckingham Palace has a lot of trees. And amongst them, I think they call them champion trees, but from what I remember, they took home a few acorns and they planted one of them. And it managed to grow and it became sort of famous in their neighborhood. I remember there were some people that were kind of upset about this, that, you know, they didn't ask permission to take these royal acorns. Anyway, I don't know how upset anyone really was over that. That was a very long time ago. Oh, I don't know what I think of this. Only because I think I said bunny rabbit, and then all of a sudden I drew a bunny rabbit head. But I tried to fix some part of that. I think that's it. I don't know if I want to go any further than that. That's just kind of a funny little doodle. I could take the opportunity, I guess. See if I could add something to it. So let's just do a little bit. And a little bit underneath here just for fun. Not that they would cast much of a shadow. Of course, they would block the light from hitting the ground. It's an interesting concept, that light are things, that they're particles. Yes, This bunny rabbit face on this squirrel, it is a bit much. Perhaps it's the nose. Yeah, and you know what? It might be that upper lip too. That does not help it. Let's see here. What if I brought the nose down just a little bit? No. Hmm. Well, I've committed to it. Sometimes when you see the someone's version of a creature, I like to think about, I think it was Michelangelo or Raphael, and not one of the Ninja Turtles, who drew a picture of a biblically inspired story of Jonah and the whale, and they had never seen a whale. So they drew kind of like a giant mackerel with eyes on top of its head. Now, it's possible that there may have been a fish that big, but as most of you know, what we categorize whales as nowadays, we think of them as mammals, and they have forward-facing, not forward-facing, well, they have eyes on the side, that's what I mean to say, and they breathe from the top of their heads. Anyway, that's funny just to think about that. So I've drawn a squirrel in such a way that perhaps I should have looked it up, but I don't mind making mistakes in my sketchbook. So now I'm just kind of really overworking this, trying to get it to look like a squirrel that I want it to look like. I don't think that matters too much. Hmm. Is there anything fun that I could do with this? Well, how about this? The last thing then. Just because I'm going to change a couple of things, and I'm going to put this squirrel in a shirt. Which is totally unnecessary. But why not? Little collar. Now, I don't know whose idea it was to draw chipmunks wearing shirts, and I think they were kind enough to give them long pants. But a lot of these animals that they put in clothing, and anyway, they don't bother. They don't bother to give them pants. You ever go to a store and they say that you're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to have shoes on and you're supposed to have a shirt? I'm not recommending this, but I wonder how many people thought it would be funny to go in without pants. Anyway, don't do that. They will take you away. So not a good idea. Then you could be like, oh, well, the sign on the door says they would serve me if I had a shirt and I have shoes on. What a terrible, terrible concept. Forget what I just said. It's not a recommendation. That does something to that. What if so, since the head's tilted that way, we're going to put our friend in a little hat. Little button on top. And because it's funny only to me, I'll go with a little bit of blue. So we're getting closer and closer to Inktober. It's your reminder. Probably around 10 days in, close to 10 days, maybe 5 days in, I don't know. I'll make sure that some of you have access to the prompts, which you can easily look up on Inktober's official website. Of course, this is also your opportunity to come back and hang out for that too. will set a timer and draw for about 10 minutes per prompt each day. You know, right now I'm just over 25 minutes working on this thing, which is super unnecessary, but necessary for me, and I just enjoy it. So not really unnecessary. You know what? I could have made the peak of that dark blue. Although we're not really going to notice it as that. All right. Let us finish this up. Oh, you know what? Let's just add, oh, maybe not that. Some hints of this sort of brownish yellow, or yellowish brown, or dark mustard. Well, I think that's all. I don't really have to go any further. So it does look a little bit less like a, I mean, it kind of does still, but a little less like a rabbit. Maybe I can make that eye seem a little bit bigger. Ooh, maybe not. All right, well, that should be it. Nothing else I can really think of to do with that for my sketchbook. Anyway, folks, thanks for hanging out, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you at some point in the near future. Let me sharpen something on this. Just tip that back a little bit. There we go. All right. I hope you have a great day. Have a great weekend, or whenever you're watching this. All right, ciao for now.